What's
So
next?
our topic is, what type of relationships have you been in, and what was the outcome spiritually and mentally? I don't know who wants to kick off.
I suppose this is pretty awkward,
Yeah.
isn't it?
I'm gonna say mine, innit?
Okay.
So
Oh wow.
I would say, let me even keep it real for you. As a Christian now, one relationship that I've been in mentally broke me because I entered that relationship and I was not whole. That is a key thing I learned, and I had to learn it being in that relationship when things hit rock bottom. When I mean things hit rock bottom. But I'm a personal believer that God, you put yourself in situations, and sometimes God puts you in situations, but as my sisters will agree, in that situation you're in, there's nothing that doesn't pass his eyes. So he doesn't look at the book and say, oh, when did Marvin pop into your life? Like, no, he knows, okay, Marvin's coming in now. So he knows, but depending on how prayerful you are and how committed you are to him, he will shift it. So whatever you take out that relationship will be for your good. So I know in one of my relationships, the main thing I learned was patience. I learned the art of patience because the guy I was with was a the spirit behind him was a nonsense, because he taught me how to be patient, because I did not have a patience trait.
So then that's not the spirit behind you.
No, that's just God turning it around for her good.
God turned it around for my good.
Because he wasn't a nonsense, then.
No, but he did, and she's on his side, didn't it? Like, he is where he is. But
Always.
it taught me the essence.
Jesus help me.
It taught me the essence of being patient. And I think now, since that relationship, I don't regret any relationship I've been in, because when I've taken a step back and looked at it, I've realised everything I've actually learnt from each relationship has got me to where I am today. Has got me in front of this camera telling you guys where we are today. So I guess it's kind of a good thing. But you know, it hurt. Right, it really hurt. It really, no, it cut deep, really.
I've been in one toxic relationship, that left me. You know when you splatter egg?
Yeah, good.
Oh my goodness!
This tin is a perfect
And you know when you try to pick the egg up, it's just like
How can you pick it up?
Exactly, that's the point. I can single-handedly say that
Really?
relationship completely just ruined me.
It's like okra slipping from your fingers.
I don't even know what to do. Your heart is just I feel like, and do you know what? Like I said, obviously, like touching on what my sister said, I went in there and I wasn't whole in any way, shape, or form. So of course, he was my absolute be all, end all, was all,
Everything.
is all, alpha and omega, beginning and end. Wow, the Genesis to the Revelation. He would know at the time. He was
That's why God
everything.
said, I'm gonna switch this up for you, because
Listen,
put him first. I am the alpha and omega.
No, and do you know what? In that relationship, I can honestly say I was every type of girl. I was the girl that was walked all over. I was the girl that was taken advantage of. I was the girl who did take advantage. I was the girl who, you know, when you're just everything that you're not supposed to be. I absolutely was. And I feel like in that relationship, it's so important to be whole within yourself, because the one thing that relationship taught me, which is funny, was how to value myself less. Now, hear me out. When I was in that relationship, I didn't know who I was, what my worth was, what it was supposed to be, you know, what my purpose was in that relationship, or just anything to do with anything. I didn't know. I wasn't whole in any way, shape or form. So I used to succumb to things that I thought was the norm at the time. I used to behave in ways that I thought was the norm at the time. Until I left that relationship, or rather the relationship left me. My sisters can actually testify that I feel like that was the first time in my life that I can probably say I had to literally learn about myself as a woman, because that left me mentally and emotionally, even physically. Absolutely. Jess, do you understand? Financially. Guys, I'm getting money financially. No, financially. She said, go get money, bro. Guys, we're over this now. It was years ago. Anyway, sorry. But yeah, anyway, these guys can obviously testify to you that that relationship left me in every way, shape or form. I was rock bottom, absolute rock bottom. I didn't even know what it was about me. I thought I was the problem. I didn't know what it was about me that every time I kept on trying to be nice, trying to be this girl who I thought was, genuine, I just kept on getting taken advantage of. And to be fair, even to this day, I have got a really massive resilience and wall up when it comes to guys and things like that, and even certain people, because I don't like letting a lot of people in. But I can honestly say that I had to force myself to become whole. I had to force myself to know who I was, know what my purpose with God was, know what God wanted for me, know myself as a woman, my own value, what it means to love yourself. Because the truth is, if you don't love you, you can't love anybody else. There's no way you can love anybody else, because you won't know the value of love. You won't know what it means to give love if you don't love yourself. So now, that relationship, listen, I used to change my hair often, do everything often, because I used to think that was what he wanted, to make him happier. I used to try and do my makeup in a certain type of way, because that's what I thought he liked. Now I do it because I want to. I wear makeup because I want to wear makeup. I do my hair in a certain way because I want to do it. So it's all for me. It's not for somebody else. When you leave a relationship, or when you even get into a relationship when you're not whole, the Bible says two shall come together and they shall become one. It's one whole individual and another whole individual that is supposed to come together and become one. It's not half an individual and one. Because you start to find that when you have that one individual who has half of them, you start to you start to pour into that other person. You then become 1.5. And when that person now leaves, they take the half that they took with you and they bounce, and they're not around. And that's what I found. From then, I used to literally, I can actually say I had techers back in the day. I used to date every Tom, Dick and Harry who actually asked for my number, just because I used to feel like
she's not a hoe.
Oh no, but you know what I mean, innit? Like, the truth is, some girls do that. They get out of a relationship where they don't know themselves, and they start to try and find that in other people. People
get over a dick by getting on a dick.
Yeah, people will take them out. They will. That's the saying. But you start to think that there's other people out there who are supposed to pour. And I remember one time I was on the phone to my sister. I completely just broke down. I was absolutely just torn, because I just didn't know what my life was supposed to be. And then there was one thing that she said to me, and it really stuck with me for like literally the rest of my life. And she was like, when you start to put somebody on a pedestal and you look up at them, it means that God is you don't value God. God is not someone that you class as your Alpha and Omega, your father, because he's meant to be above anything. But when you start to put somebody on a pedestal, how else are you going to get over them when you start to make them your be or end all? You start to think that they're the only answer to absolutely anything, and then you realize that before them you were absolutely fine. Like you were the same woman, you were doing what you enjoyed, you were even praying more. And then now that person came into your life, you realize that your life just goes all the way downhill, especially if they were that light that was amongst all the darkness going on.
You're behind in your devotional.
Yeah, you start
This is why Paul
like,
said it's better to be single.
No, but
I'm getting married.
No, but
he never said it's wrong.
No, do you know what? It's not wrong, but I feel like you need your focus is so important. If you are not at the stage where you are your priority and God is your priority, you will absolutely lose it. You end up being in such toxic relationships that leave you damaged, and the thing is, you don't actually realize how damaged they leave you until the relationship goes. But you know what? I can actually say I'm happy I went through that.
Relationships. Oh, okay.
Wow. What relationships have you been in that
What have you been in,
mentally
yeah.
and physically broken?
What has it done to you?
Do you know what? I've been in one relationship that I can say, like Lisa, it was just a toxic relationship, and it's not because we were bad people. It's just that things happened at the wrong time. But I think what I learned from that relationship was that, okay, first of all, when you get into a relationship, especially starting from a young age, like Lisa mentioned, like, you don't know yourself. You're not whole. You don't know what you want to do. You don't know your ambitions or your goals. You don't know what you want to accomplish in this life. So when you're getting into when you're getting into a relationship and you're all of a sudden submitting to somebody that you're trying to know and not even know to a certain level, you start to hit bumps. Like, you start to, you know, get into things. Like, for me, it was having a sexual relationship with, when I didn't even know the definition of what sex was. Like, so for me, that really broke me, because I offered myself, like the most purest of myself, to somebody that I, to be honest, was still getting to know. And it left me completely finished. Like, after I can remember crying out to God and saying, God, I want to leave this relationship, but I can't. Like, it was bondage at its best. Like, I knew this guy was not it for me. I became insecure. I lost my confidence. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know what I wanted to achieve. It was affecting
your sister's cause.
I didn't like education. I couldn't even focus. I was everywhere. And literally it left me empty. I poured myself, like I gave everything to another guy that I didn't even know was even the one for me. So I really learned my lesson when it came to like putting somebody on a higher pedestal, because literally I was building myself on something that was just going to crumble. And the one thing that it did teach me was, like, in that relationship I can say I found Christ. Like, it made me go and see, because I knew this wasn't it. This was not it for me. I said, God, I mean, I've heard about you. I don't know you, but I know that I'm in trouble and I need saving, because if I'm going to stay in this relationship, the devil is going to eat me in this relationship. So no, that's exactly what it was. And I said, Father, if I don't get out of this, I'm actually going to die, literally. Because if I left myself in that relationship, I would have opened the doors to suicide.
Yeah.
I would have opened some serious doors. So it got to the point where I knew it was wrong. I knew it was toxic. I was losing myself, and I said, God, it's only you that's gonna save me, and I'm gonna choose to put you first, because I know at least you love me for who I am and not for who I'm trying to be. So when I realized that, I just surrendered myself. I surrendered myself, and let me tell you, it was the hardest thing till this day I ever even did. Like, surrendering myself, trying to detach myself from somebody that I've given myself to since from a young age, like physically and emotionally. That bond was hard to break, but he did it. So I learned the greatest lesson. I learned great lessons, but I found the only person that could love me just for me and not for what I can do. And that is Christ, that is God. And you know, now I can say that I am more bolder, I am more confident. I now know what I want to achieve. I know the ambitions like I want to strive for, but before I didn't see that. I was totally blind. Every rear view that I had cut off because I was doing something that was not the will of God. So that was my lesson, and I know you guys will bounce off of it.
My one is quite short.
Well,
Right.
It's
What's
short.
trying to say?
No, my one is short in the sense of I never allowed myself to heal from relationships prior to wherever I kind of got in. So I can't actually give you the worst relationship, but I can give you like the worst situation to be in. So long story short, I was going out with a certain individual who's gonna sound really weird, was actually one of the best boyfriends I'd been out with, but the worst ex I've ever had in my life. And it sounds
that sounds
bizarre,
right, because the process, isn't it?
yeah. So literally, I'm gonna say the lesson that I learned because of this situation, it was and I think one of the greatest lessons as well was discernment. because you know when God is telling you something, but at the time you didn't know it was God, you just thought, oh yes, whatever, so let it go. But you just kept on, you just continued in it anyway. I learned discernment in a sense whereby I felt there was such a tug, like towards, what age can I say, the 17, 18, there was such a tug of the world on my life, to the point where I kind of thought I was invincible, I can do whatever, if this person messes up, whatever, I can get a new boyfriend and just keep it moving. But what I was doing is I was taking, let's say each of these guys was a cake, I was taking slices of cake from each of these guys, and some of these cakes were poisonous, I cannot even lie, to the point where I was carrying things that I shouldn't have even been carrying, which were breaking me down spiritually, emotionally, but I didn't even realize it until this particular relationship, where when we now had broken up, guys, you know when you don't even know that you're even alive, it's like you're just floating through life. I got to a point where I got to a point where I felt like I really lost myself, as in I don't even know who my friend is, I don't know who I can rely on. I didn't know. It was affecting everything. My studies, it's affecting me at work, it was affecting how I spoke to my parents at home, and that all came down to the fact that I had taken on whatever spirit was following some of these men had come and tried to attach itself to me. I would struggle to sleep, I'd wake up, I'm angry or I'm down. People literally probably didn't want to be around me. Also learned self-worth, and I didn't realize that I didn't. Do you know when you don't even? I didn't know that I didn't know that. Like, I thought I had self-worth. I thought some invincible girl, like, what? What?
You know,
when I tell you the brokenness, to the point where I wouldn't look at myself in the mirror. We have a big bathroom mirror. I'll make sure I'm facing the other way when I was like getting dressed and stuff like that. I wouldn't look in the mirror. Because of what these guys had told me. In my head, I've engraved it. So that is what I am. I didn't have self-worth, but like I'm saying, I learnt discernment because I learnt to listen to the Holy Spirit when he says no, get out, flee, or what are you doing? Sometimes the Holy Spirit will be like, you're still continuing, I've told you clearly, this individual, it's no. And it's not always just because, let's say the individual is even an unbeliever, but it's the fact that there's something that is following them that God does not want you to even come into contact with. And so like I'm saying, the main lesson I learned from, I'm saying all my relationship, but the last one was the trigger, was learning to really listen to the voice of God. Because guys, when I tell you, God has a perfect will for our lives, innit? But the sad thing is that there's also the permissible will of God, in which he will allow you to settle for if you do not listen to him. I'm not trying to settle for second best, innit? I'm not. From when God has said that you can have gold, but I should choose to have silver.
Or even bronze.
That's even bronze.
Or even bronze.
What integrity takes years to build, but it's seconds to destroy. I'm going to tell you something now, that relationship that I'm just speaking about now, I only got over it in last year, November. That relationship occurred over 5-6 years ago. It's taken me 5 years to fully heal.
See, now this brings it to my story.
From that situation. And what I'm saying is that, guys, there's some things that we have to be grateful to God that he does have a purpose in everything that he allows to happen. But sometimes he didn't even want us to encounter that thing in the first place. But we are grateful that, let's think about it as like roads, innit? That here's the path he wanted us to go. But we went this way. But what he did, he mapped out a route to come back.
God is us.
Saying is that we have to be so grateful to God in the sense that even though sometimes we steer off the route, it might even take longer to get back onto the route, but there's always a route that he lays out for us to come back on it. So as I was saying, lessons learned. Learning to be discerning and hearing the voice of the Holy Spirit in every situation. At the end of the day, God knows our beginning and our end. So who best than to go to when it comes to any situations, especially somebody you're going to be spending the rest of your life with. You know, you say till death do you part.
Bruh. Not intentional death.
No, not that you killed and you said, okay, I'm free now.
But so that is my lesson. That's lessons that I learned. So.
Going off Niece's story, lessons that I learned. Now, my relationship, this is recent, so, you know, it's a bit... It's fresh. Case of me basically... Like Lisa had said, entering a relationship, not being whole. So when I entered this relationship, let's just say I was freshly baptized. Now let me say something, guys. Be careful what you pray for, okay? So freshly baptized, getting ready to go to college and all that, whatever. I'm now praying. I'm like, you know when you're on fire after you've been baptized, cool. I'm praying like, yeah, Lord, let me give me patience, and well, there's something else I asked for, I can't remember, but I said, Lord, give me patience, whatever. Cool. I didn't know that the years to come was going to be a
Test of patience.
Test of patience indeed. You know, long story, very long. Obviously, these guys know it's long, but throughout the process, what I basically did was, I'm a person that doesn't talk about my feelings or how I feel, whatever, but letting that build up over years and not dealing with it at the time basically caused me to break down later in life when I thought I was absolutely fine. So I took on everything that happened in the relationship and thought, nah, it's cool, I can get over this, I'm strong, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. There's your body, your mind, everything can only take a certain amount before it says it's enough. It's enough. This is not what, you know, it's not for you. You shouldn't be having to take this. You shouldn't have to be try and act like you're strong. If you can't take it, you can't take it. But you know, it's a thing where I kind of lost, how can I put it, I lost focus in God, and I was put in this relationship, let's say at the top, like I was putting at the pedals, I was thinking, yeah, it has to be it, like nah, this is it. I'm saying this is it, but God is basically saying, no, this is not yet. It's a lesson, G, like it's a lesson. So excited, relax, you know, chill a bit. But you know when you're so into something that you don't hear what God is saying, and then He sends you sisters that are telling you stuff, and you're just like,
well,
okay. See, I was already doubting myself, and obviously at this point I'm getting closer to God. I'm beginning to understand now. I know who God is, but this ain't for me. When you're beginning to realize stuff and things that your sisters are telling you, you're just like, rah, okay, cool. That's when I took the decision to be like, you know what, you need to deal with it now. That's something that I realized this generation does a lot. We never take the time to deal with something or to heal from something. We just jump into something thinking, yeah, we're strong, we can do it, it's okay, I'm okay, I'm better. Nah, deal with it, because when it catches up with you, hey, I broke down. Me, I was finished, like I literally thought I literally thought my life was over. Like at this point, I'm not a person to be dramatic, and when I look back, I'm thinking, right, you was very dramatic. But when you're in that situation, bruv, you forget everything. Like you're just like, what's going on? Like Nisi was saying, bruv, like, you know, you're just floating. You're like, what's going on? Am I a spirit? What? Like things were just happening. I'm just like, huh? Like,
your soul.
I did one, amen, and then I turned.
Listen, I have to interrupt her. When these girls cry, it's once in a blue moon. So she turned around and I heard somebody go. I heard a sniff. I said, what? I said, you tissue. You can't see me.
The day that she had sent me some long message, I think Lisa had sent me a message. Basically, a lot of people had sent me a message, but bearing in mind, nobody knew what I was feeling at that time. So I was thinking, damn, like, all these people are telling me the same thing. But that was the day I said, you know what, Lord, you speak through people, so cool. If this is, you know, what people are saying, then okay, then this must be it. So obviously from that day, yeah, things changed, man. Obviously, no, I held on tight. That's it. Okay. I held on tight to the Lord, because I was going to a lot more services, a lot more events. So there was a lot of events that happened towards the end of the year, which we thank God for, because but a lot of them were basically just reminding me of my worth, reminding me of who I was, reminding me of just everything that God wants you to be. And it's not like what I felt like I was consumed by the idea of where the relationship was going. It wasn't going there, but my mind had already ran to it wasn't there yet. God said relax, like it's not there yet. If it's gonna get there, it will get there. If not, then so be it. Like sometimes we just get ahead of ourselves, but God will always kind of bring you back regardless of what it is you've been through, whether it can be anything. God will always bring you back to the path that you're supposed to be on. Like Nisi was saying, like, listen, God is like our sat-nav. Like, He will tell us, do this, go this way, go that way, go this way. We might get excited, be like, oh, I know where I'm going. And make a wrong turn. I know a shortcut. You make a wrong turn, but then what does the sat-nav do? It says rerouting. And that's exactly what God does for us. He will say, do you know what? you took this wrong turn, but you're gonna get back to where you're supposed to be going. By fire, by force. Even if you have to go through small roads and all this and all that, it's longer
And
than
it may
where
take longer.
you are still
Your car will
going
break down.
to. Your car will break down even, but you will still get to where you're supposed to go. So that was a big lesson. It was basically just, I think, throughout that relationship, it's funny because a lot of people say they lose themselves in a relationship. I kind of began to find myself more, because it's like, hold on, now you can't be this half individual. You need to be whole. You need to know who you are before getting into a relationship, because that's how you kind of, you know, you're just I can't even speak, but you think a lot of things because you don't know. Like, you don't know. When you don't know something, you will think the whole world, million and one thoughts. Exactly. But when you know, and you know who God has created you to be, then little things like this, that, don't get me wrong, relationships, you need to know who the heck you gonna be with, because that's life. That's a life decision. That
you're telling.
Like, it's gonna affect your kids, it's gonna affect your kids' kids, it's gonna, like, listen, generational curses are real, you know, people. So you have to think about these things, and like I said, I always say this generation, because this generation is a special generation, but we're going through so much that we don't see how special we are. So it's like, at the moment, I can say this generation is heavily focused on relationships, but I understand why, because it's one of the factors. Exactly. There's an issue in how we're viewing relationships. Like, it's mad, but yeah, I'm not gonna really go into depth with that. Like, I'll speak forever about
another time.
But just know that whatever path you're on right now in regards to a relationship, you might be thinking, I'm single, nobody want me. Or you might be like, I'm tired of relationships, I want to get to know God. Like, whatever place you're at, like, God's got you, man. God will guide you.
100%.
He will lead you.
See the kind of first.
Amen.
See, Matthew, this is when I should now be knowing my Bible scriptures. Matthew 6 verse 33. Seek first the kingdom of the Lord,
And everything else shall be added.
That's what you have to do. Don't go and look for relationships because
And then add God into it.
No, because that's when it will crumble. You know, find God first, and everything good will come to you.
In all your ways, acknowledge Him, and He will make your ways straight.
And Romans, just funny, as like during this week, I'm sure everyone hears this verse all the time. Romans 8:28.
I love that verse.
But listen, that verse, listen, all things work out. Works out, but you need to understand, for those who love God. So my friend, love God. That was my lesson. You need to know who. Your identity. That's what it is.
Guys, that wraps us up for today. Thank you so much.
Wow.
I
But what's your lesson?
Yeah, you can.
Just be like, what you learn.
Can you move, please?
Oh, sorry. Do you want me to give you space?
Am I leading on?
Alright then. What's my wig?
Should I take
You know what?
I mean, right.
Where's your bean?
The relationships I have been in.
Who?
I mean, you know.
Should we start with the one that you've learned the greatest lesson?
That's one of the ones that you have to talk about.
Alright, I mean, the greatest lesson, me personally, that I think out of all my relationships I have learned is just don't let your past follow you into your current.
You know when you do that?
That is one of the lessons I have learned. I mean, I'm not gonna say everybody's probably had a terrible past, but I'm sure people have gone through things, you know, in their lives that have actually traumatized them, and they've held, you know, as opposed to letting go. I can't even look at the camera. I don't want to cry. Yeah, so like, you know, there's things that people have gone through in their lives that you know, they find it so hard to get over, but then learn to live with when they should have let it go. And without knowing, you don't recognize how it affects you with the men you get with, and you know, a huge factor could be the relationship you have with your father. You know, because that plays a huge part, whether we like it or not. And when you don't have that solid man, that he's the first man that should love you. I mean, after God, is your father. So when that love is not there, for you to come and
try and find out what love is.
You know what I mean? It's like, for who and for why, and what kind of idiocy. You know what I mean? then and I think what is troubled me with is that, you know, you find that your level of commitment is just not there. You know, you can't
as much as you think it's
there. You think you can, you know, you want what you want, but to be in a situation, you're like,
I don't want that.
For me, every time things got good,
I'm out. Well, she said
every
bye.
time things got serious, bye. Because I can't, because then you have to now
commit.
Yeah, and when I realized I was running away from myself.
Not even commit, but you have to submit. And you have to. This is why you're my sister. Yourself.
Exactly. And, you know, it almost becomes unfair to the other party as well, you know? Because, I mean, it'd be unfair for me to now write off all my exes and say all my exes were waste men. I mean, there's the odd few of you that I really wonder what your purpose on this earth was, because, you know, the level of uselessness and stupidity and absolute concubiningness is just completely out of control. But then there are some of you that I'm like, okay, I can understand why I went down that road, but, you know, lesson learned, it didn't work out, you know, I have love for you, but
it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Okay.
But so then I think that one of my lessons as well was finding Christ in all my through all those relationships, you know, and kind of finding myself and realizing that actually the past is the past, and whatever experience you have experienced in the past, you need to leave that there. Because quite frankly, you are, I mean, after God, you decide, you can pick and choose what you allow to fester in your life. You can pick and choose what you allow to define you, and once you allow your past to define you, problem. Once you say to yourself, actually, you know what, I went through, but quite frankly, that's not today. That's not who I am today. Mentally, I'm not there. The Christ in me is so there that like nothing can even shake me, move me. So even if you bring a man into the picture, and I don't know, it makes you not really live your past, but you know, that fear of submitting, that fear of commitment, that fear of loving somebody comes, you can just say to yourself, bruh, listen, I'm ready. Whatever you're ready to throw at me, whatever I was fighting with, I can now deal with, you know? Like I can now force myself to deal with. Give somebody that love that I know I can give.
Yeah.
So that's one of the lessons that me personally I learned. Just leave, ladies and gentlemen, leave your past in the past. Like don't, especially if you confide in your partner, your partner should never bring up something in the past that affected you or hurt you as a way to spite you or maliciously. Like that is just a no for me. When you know that when God says that you become born again, everything becomes new. You know, right. I'm a whole new person. I'm a whole new person. What I was 5 years ago, 6 years ago, don't today we're 2018. Don't bring that here again. Like that's that. I've dealt with it. I've dealt with it. I've been that person. I did that person. I'm now moving forward from that. So now the person I am today, I've now gotten to the point where I'm so in love with me. I have thousands of insecurities, but I'm so in love with me to the point where if a man doesn't want me, listen, I'm gonna buy.
It came out.
I'm so
like pending. Somehow it came. I was like, I haven't heard anything.
I'm so. And even with relate, like the love you should have for yourself. I love myself so much, like so much, like to the point where even though I know my insecurities, a man could never tell me of my insecurities, and I now I shift. Like,
no way. Like some of y'all
you come and tell me I'm Boris, and I look at you and be like, oh yeah, I'm Boris. You mad? No, are you? Did they drop you on your head as a child? No, like love yourself the way Christ loves you.
Love yourself as you should love thy neighbor.
Yeah, love yourself. God created you. God created us in His image.
Baby, don't love yourself. I love you.
But anyway, yeah, guys, that's my lesson. My lesson is just that. Bro, just leave your past in your past, and above all things, love yourself. Like that's what I had to do. Love yourself, you know.
So I mean, guys, oh my God, that's it. Thank you. It's a wrap. We're gonna see you next week. So you know, there's gonna be lots more. There's gonna be lots going on with with my sisters, and you know, sometimes we finna have some special guest who's crazy enough to come in here
And still with us.
You know, but we want to say thank you for watching and subscribe. Don't be like your neighbors. Subscribe. Pay your tithes. Pay your offerings. And Christ.
Do you know that professional people may watch this thing and we are raising our voice like we have no
Pay your tithes. Pay your offering. And praise the Lord.
Hey,
Oh, sorry.
you can't take us anywhere. That's what it comes down to.
You can press cut.
Oh, and
Cut.